One God, one aim, one destiny. Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Race first. Peace and love, family. And I would like to welcome you to a special edition of The Real Street Ministry by Abdullah. Tonight is Race First, State of the Union Address, and we will be talking about the situation at hand and what occurred today in Washington, D.C. As many of you know, this 2020 election, or as I call it, selection, has taken a sharp turn as a result of many of the supporters of Donald Trump not conceding to the fact that he lost the election. As we saw in Washington, D.C. today, after President Trump had a rally with his thousands of supporters, his supporters ended up going to the Capitol building and ended up bum rushing both the Congress and Senate, to the point where the government had to literally shut down Washington, D.C. They had to call in the FBI. They had to call in the Virginia state militia. They had to implement the National Guard. And now the country is at a standstill as Congress begins to certify the Electoral College election and certify Joe Biden as the official winner of the 2020 presidential selection. But as we saw in Washington, D.C. today, many of these people are crying and showing their rebellious spirit of what they deemed as an unfair and unconstitutional election that was stolen from them. While many of our people, and rightfully so, chose to stand down and not even participate in these rallies. Now, my State of the Union address is to address our people from a race-first perspective. As many of you should be aware, what we are witnessing now as 2021 is here, we are witnessing the demise of America. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad once stated back in 1974, and also in Message to the Black Man, we are witnessing the destruction of America. Many people are shocked and enraged as to what is happening. I myself, I'm not neither shocked nor surprised at the outcry and the outrage by many of these so-called conservative white folks. Why am I not surprised? I'm not surprised because of the simple fact that I've stated this time and time again. This country will burn to the ground before they ever allow you to have any type of full equal rights in this country. This country, according to its constitution, was not built for you. It was not created for you. It did not represent you. In fact, in 1787, when that constitution was written, it was written as 3/5 of a human. When this country came into its inception in 1776, there were over 500,000 so-called black people, aka Africans, in this country, and nearly over 90% of those people were enslaved. Most of the people who wrote both the Declaration of Independence and who wrote the Constitution were slave owners themselves. They did not view you as a human being. They did not include you as a human being, and they looked at you as chattel and property. And even today in 2021, they still view the vast majority of so-called black people in this country as nothing but chattel property. Now, as far as what we should be doing in regards to what's going on in the country, let it burn to the ground. Let them continue to fight against their Congress and their government. Let them continue to show their disappointment as a result of these elections. Let them continue to fight and divide amongst themselves. We don't have a say-so in that fight. It wasn't our fight to begin with. As black people in America especially, we got enough problems amongst ourselves that we have to totally fix and correct amongst each other. We do not have the time nor the capacity to intervene in these European affairs. What we must do as African people is come together and unite and build on the basis of a race-first mentality. What is a race-first mentality? A race-first mentality is, as black people, we must first adopt black nationalism. And what I mean by black nationalism is, as Malcolm X stated in his Ballot of the Bullet speech in 1964, we must have control of the economic, political, and social factors of our community. In any community that we live in, we control the economy as far as the finances and the dollars and the resources that go into our community. We own and control and operate that. On a political level, we own and control the politicians who are supposed to serve our best interests at heart. Meaning that anytime these politicians are looking to secure your vote in these elections every 2 to 4 years, you select the candidate that best represents your interests, and you hold them accountable to represent your interests in local, state, and national government. By you owning and controlling and operating the politics within your community, you will begin to operate and implement some type of change that will benefit your community as a whole, which includes resources and the social fabric of our society, meaning that we have to correct the defects and the ills that are poisoning us in our society, which means we have to get rid of the drug addiction, we have to get rid of the solicitation, we have to get rid of the prostitution, we have to get rid of the illiteracy, we have to get rid of the degenerate behavior, we have to get rid of all of these factors that are continuing to promulgate and have a negative image amongst us as a people. This is what we must do with a race-first mentality. And on an international level, we have to establish rapport, communication, and commerce with our brothers and sisters abroad, especially with those in the motherland. We have, as Africans, we have to stop fighting with our brothers and sisters all across the board, because what affects one person here in America in regards to a brother and sister, it affects my brother and sister in the Caribbean. What affects my brother and sister in the Caribbean, it affects my brother and sister in the UK. What affects them in the UK, it definitely affects every single brother and sister in the motherland. This is the race-first mentality that the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey teaches us as Garveyites. And this is the race-first mentality that we as black people all across this earth have to implement amongst ourselves. So in this State of the Union address, I am implying to our people that we have to stay the course as far as standing down on their BS and standing up and rising amongst ourselves. I have news for you, family. When Joe Biden comes into office in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see that what you thought was a nightmare for the past 4 years is going to be an even worse nightmare for the next 4 or 8 years. He has already shown that he does not have the best interests of our people at heart. In fact, he's always shown it. But unfortunately, you have to get a scary dose of reality in order to fully understand the cusp of what these politicians actually represent. They don't represent your best interests. They represent lobbyists and corporations. Always understand and remember that America is a corporation. It is not a democracy. Go read the Declaration of Independence and go read the United States Constitution. Tell me in either one of those documents that you're going to find that this country was established as a democracy. A democracy clearly means one voice, one vote, one voice, one choice. It didn't start that way for us in 1776. It wasn't instituted into law for us in 1776. In 1865, when they passed the 13th Amendment, you truly thought that now that we're no longer in physical chattel slavery, that they were going to open up its gates and allow us to enjoy the full rights that most of them don't even enjoy. Then they came up in the 13th Amendment that slavery is abolished except for areas of servitude, aka prison, which is why the prison industrial complex is the biggest commodity as far as corporations in this country. And that's why they designed the prison industrial complex system, because they knew that you are still are worthless to them as far as being liberated. They only look at you as a commerce and a commodity to make them money. So you have to understand, brothers and sisters, that this fight that we seeing right now in Washington, D.C. is not our fight. It was never our fight to begin with, and it damn sure ain't gonna be our fight long after Joe Biden gets into office. You think that this is gonna end because the National Guard is out there right now? I got news for you. They just gave you a dress rehearsal as to what could possibly happen on January 20th. You think they pissed now? Oh, wait till Biden shows up at his inauguration in 2 weeks. Oh, they gonna be out there, and they gonna be ready to wreck shop. And as I've stated time and time again, family, this system will sacrifice a good number of their people just to save and uphold their system that they benefit from. But what they are worried about is you united under the red, black, and green. What they are worried about are you, black man, taking your rightful place, which is why us in the UNIA go under the motto of stand, black man, stand. Because we are the leaders, we are the head, and the woman is the body. And the woman it stands side by side with us. So in my State of the Union address, family, as brothers and sisters, let's end these gender wars. We've both been damaged on both sides. Sisters, y'all have done y'all brothers a lot of wrong. Brothers, you have done your sisters a lot of wrong. There's blame to go on both sides. But the blaming has to stop. The healing needs to begin. And one way we got to begin the healing is we have to acknowledge our own personal faults within each other. United we stand, we're a powerful force that far outsees any other nation or entity on this planet. Divided we fall, we'll fall right into the cusp of the destruction of America by going down with it. As Africans, we need to be focusing on our homeland and building something else so that when it's time for us to make our departure, we're ready to go back home and establish that bond and that unity that will last forever as the Creator intended on a global scale. We Africans have to unite all over this planet, which is why we carry the red, black, and green, which is why we embrace these beautiful colors, because we are a loving and a dominant people. Our brilliance and our excellence and our intelligence and our creativity permeates itself every single day. We just celebrated Kwanzaa. We just went over the principles of Luganzo Saba, which means we have to implement these 7 principles every single day of our lives. And what I'm addressing, family, is that as a people, let's forget about what's going on in DC. Let's stop getting emotionally outraged at white folks fighting amongst each other over what they deem is BS, and let's start focusing on us from an internal point of view to where we need to correct a lot of the divisiveness and the disunity and the violence and the destruction we have displaced amongst ourselves, and let's turn that into an everlasting bond of love, peace, harmony, and togetherness to where we rebuild that strength. We have it within us. It's time for us to put it into action. And so as I close, I just want to say to you, brothers and sisters, that we must come together now. We understand that this system don't give 2 damns about us. It never have and it never will. But that doesn't mean we can't get amongst each other and have first a dialogue and a discussion, and then we go into building mode. Work is hard. It's an art. It's a difficult task. You're not going to get the praise nor the credit for putting in the work necessary to build up what we should be having as a community. We talk about the so-called black community all the time, but what is a black community? We're not living in one, we live in neighborhoods. Let's turn them neighborhoods into communities. Let's start buying up the commercial real estate in them neighborhoods. Let's start buying up the housing. Let's start cleaning up our streets. Let's start turning these vacant lots into parks to where our children can play freely. Let's have brothers and sisters, instead of them standing on the corner or being outside doing absolutely nothing, we can form some type of security force within the community to where we are applying some form of employment to where our people, especially our young people, will have some form of work. I'm talking about work such as we got these young people, they tired of being in the house, they tired of being quarantined. So let's have them, let's establish some type of security force and let's start training and conducting some form of military structure to where our people can not only have employment, but they can begin to feel very proud and confident about themselves. We have the power within us to do that. It's time to actually exercise that power. Stand in conjunction with each and every last one of you brothers and sisters that wants to create the change that we always talk about we want to see, but many of us ain't actually doing. Let's get to work. Let's get off the damn internet. Let's stop trying to propagate they BS. We got our own version of Facebook, melanatedpeople.net. Let's start investing into that. Let's make that a $1 billion company. Let's stop making these European companies billionaires and trillionaires. We got our own version of YouTube, Black Junction TV. Let's turn that into a $1 billion company. We have our own sources of media. Let's start supporting them more to where they tell our stories and to where they show our image in a positive light, to where our people not only look and feel confident, but they present themselves in a dignified fashion. We got work to do out here, family. Let's get to work. What goes on in Washington, D.C., let's not be neither shocked nor surprised at what's going on. This country was bound to be destroyed from its inception. And while you're continuing to try to see the good of America, America is showing every single day that it is destroying itself from within. Because as the old book says, so as you sow, ye shall you reap. And one last thing, I see many of our people celebrating these 2 senators from Georgia being elected, and Congress has control of both the Senate and House of Representatives. Let's stop celebrating symbolic victories and hold every elected official that we put into office accountable to do their jobs that they were elected to do in the first place. If you're not doing that, you're not ready to discuss politics on a very serious manner. And that is all I want to say, brothers and sisters. Forget the symbolic gestures. Forget the symbolic victories. Let's start having some real victories to where we actually seeing the change out here. We got it within us. It's time for us to go to work. I'm your brother, Abdullah Shabazz. Let's network and connect amongst each other. And let's stand under the divine guiding principles of all the ancestors that paved the way for us to be here. One God, one aim, one destiny. Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Race first. Peace and love, and may God bless each and every last one of you.